everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent of Gold, joining you at the Emirates after a disappointing day for Arsenal. Another disappointing day for Arsenal, one that kind of sums up this season, really, isn't it? From the high of Thursday night to the low of today, it's just a really inconsistent, horrible season for Arsenal, and it continues in the form that it's really carried on throughout the majority of this season. Every time you feel like they've got a little bit of a momentum behind them and you think they're going to go on and win a few games on the bounce, they have a setback, and today they've had another setback. But ultimately, it's not really, the result isn't going to really matter for the season. Not that Arteta and his players will see it like that, not that you should, not the fans will see it like that. Everyone wants to win every single game, but ultimately the Premier League, I think we all know, chances of qualifying for Europe via the Premier League looked really low before today. Now it certainly looks very low after this point. I think there's 6 points off the top six now with 6 games to go, 9 points off the top four. That ship has sailed, so it's all down to the Europa League, and that has to be the priority. That is the priority. I think Mikel's team selection today said that. Partey rested, Pepe rested, even Bernd Leno was rested, and so it's perhaps not surprising. It's a bit of a disjointed performance, but you still thought they'd have enough to get past Fulham. Hadn't been the case. I think they were unlucky in a way. They certainly dominated the game. They were a better team, but they had the chances. We've all seen the VAR decisions. Tobias having the goal ruled out in the first half. Saka's toenail being offside, and then Fulham got the penalty, which in my view was a dive. I don't think it was a penalty. And then also, it was, barely any difference. It kind of looked exactly the same in terms of the offside. Fulham got that decision. Arsenal didn't get that decision in the first half, and Fulham got themselves in front. Looked like they were going to win it, and then Eddie Nketiah scored an injury time equaliser for Arsenal to salvage a point right at the end. So at least they avoided defeat, but the result is disappointing, and it kills the momentum that they had built up. I think ultimately the most costly thing that has come from today is the fact that Alexander Lacazette has got himself injured. That's why Eddie was on the pitch. Lacazette pulled his hamstring in the second half just after Fulham scored. He was sprinting up to get in on an attack. He immediately clutched his hamstring and signalled to the bench, and he limped off. You could see how disappointed he was. He had his shirt over his head. You're looking at 3 or 4 weeks for Lacazette there, if that is even longer if it's a significant hamstring injury. And ultimately, with Aubameyang out at the moment, that could end up being far more costly than these 2 points in terms of Arsenal's season overall. With Aubameyang out, we don't know how long he's going to take to recover. I don't think anyone does. It's such a weird thing, losing a player to malaria. We don't know how long his body's going to take to get back to peak fitness and be able to play at the top level. But it could be a few weeks, we don't know. And now they're facing up to looking at being without Lacazette for a few weeks, and Lacazette's obviously been such good form recently. So it's a massive blow for Arsenal there. And ultimately, as I said, it could be more of a blow than these actual drop points. They ended the game with Nketiah as a central striker. Fair play to him, he got his goal, typical Eddie goal from about 2 yards out. But if you don't really want to be going into that semi-final of the Europa League against Villarreal in a couple of weeks' time with Eddie Nketiah as your central striker, and so that will be a real worry, and the main worry that really comes from this game for me. Yes, you want to win every game. Yes, it's disappointing that they failed to beat a team like Fulham, and they should be beaten comfortably, but ultimately I still think that injury to Lacazette is going to be the big worry. And the fact this game's all sort of being played out amid the backdrop of the growing chatter about a European breakaway Super League that Arsenal are said to be involved in. One of the 6 English clubs who have signed up to that. Could even be an announcement by tonight that the clubs that involves Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Manchester City have all signed up to this, along with the big Italian clubs, the big Spanish clubs, to create this big European breakaway Super League that's kind of going in direct rival to the new format for the Champions League, which was going to be announced tomorrow. It seems like these guys have got together and have signed up to the Super League, and the announcement for that could come ahead of UEFA's announcement. So, it's just, the fact it's all played out amid that backdrop makes it even more mad, because Arsenal, on this evidence, are a million miles away from qualifying via the usual domestic routes to play alongside the elite in European competition, and this performance, was another example of that. But now they're looking to get into it via another route, and I think football fans are a little bit, understandably feel a bit weird by that, because I think we've all grown up that you should be qualifying for Europe by your performances on the pitch, not because of how big a club you are or the stature you are. If you deserve to be playing in Europe, then you qualify for it the right way. We'll see what happens with that. Mikel Arteta is just down in front of me now, speaking to the media. He'll be talking to us in a press conference. He'll no doubt be asked about that Super League report. Arsenal at the moment saying nothing on it. And we'll wait to see what Mikel has to say on it, because he'll no doubt be questioned about it. But yeah, just a disappointing performance, disappointing afternoon on the whole for Arsenal. So I will now go through my player ratings after today's 1-1 draw, and they are as followed. Well, Matt Ryan was in goal. His first start for Arsenal at home since his move from Brighton. Didn't have really much to do. He went the wrong way for the penalty. I think how many shots did Fulham had? Fulham had 3. Fulham had 3 shots, and the only one on target they scored with. So yeah, a very quiet afternoon for Ryan. Unfortunately beaten by the penalty, so he didn't get himself a clean sheet. But he claimed everything. He actually played a part in Arsenal's equaliser. Actually come up for a corner in injury time and won the header, and from that Arsenal ended up getting the ball. I'm not sure, one of the players had a shot that was tipped, that was saved, and Nketiah was on hand to score. So for that, he played a part in his goal. I'm going to give Matt Ryan a 7. Fair play to him. We all love to see a goalkeeper going up late on. So he'll get a 7. And then the defence, Gabriel gave away the penalty. It's typical Gabriel for me. He just does make these rash decisions sometimes. He's a good defender, no doubt about that. But as I said in my pre-match video, I just feel a bit more confident when Pablo Mari's at centre-back rather than Gabriel, because Gabriel is a bit prone to these rash decisions, and I think he was a bit harshly treated because it looked like a dive, but he just didn't even need to make the challenge in the first place and give the referee a decision to make. So Holding alongside him was pretty solid. I thought Holding did anything wrong. I'm going to give Holding a 7. I'm going to give Gabriel a 6. Hector Bellerin, I'm going to give a 6. He got in some good positions. Unlucky, it was his cross, I think, that Sabas's header was ruled out from. He joined up pretty well with Saka in the first half, but couldn't find a way through. Got in some good positions. He was substituted in the second half. Bellerin, I'm going to give him a 6. Granit Xhaka, I'm going to give a 6. Was a worry over him when he got an injury in the second half. Looked in real pain holding his calf, but he finished the game. So I've touched wood. Everything is okay with Xhaka. I'm going to give him a 6. Midfield, I thought Ceballos and Elneny had a difficult afternoon. They just didn't perform very well. Elneny, whenever he did try and pass the ball forward, he failed to really find a man, and it was just a classic Elneny performance, really. Didn't think he did too much. I'm going to give Elneny a 5. I'm going to give Ceballos a 6. And then the forward lines, they did all right, the forwards. They were lively. I thought Gabriel Martinelli was particularly lively in it. He had 4 shots. Martinelli has more than anyone else. He had 2 shots on target, again more than anyone else. He always looked like something could happen when he was on the ball. So I'm going to give Martinelli a 7. I thought he was pretty lively. Smith Rowe, I thought, played well, especially in the first half. He did all right. Nothing outstanding, but he looked to cause problems to Fulham and get on the ball, and they were struggling to deal with him a bit. I'm going to give Smith Rowe. I'll give Smith Rowe a 7. Saka, probably I'm going to give a 6. A little bit quiet for Saka, although he was involved quite heavily at times. And Lacazette didn't really quite. He had a good chance just after half-time. Lacazette dragged it just wide, but not one of his better performances. It's certainly up to the standard we've seen from him in the last couple of games. And then obviously limped off midway through the second half with that hamstring problem. So I'm going to give Lacazette a 6. I'd probably say Martinelli was my man of the match for me, just because he was one who looked like he might make something happen for Arsenal when it wasn't really happening elsewhere. He was the one who was creating problems. He almost set up an equaliser for Pepe, who had just come on. Really good save from Areola. It was fantastic goal for Fulham. It was Martinelli's cross that set up that chance as well. He just, like I said, always looked like he might be the man to make something happen. So on the whole, just a disappointing afternoon for Arsenal. I'm going to head off now because Mikel Arteta is getting towards the end of his TV interview, so he'll be coming up to join us in his press conference. Please do check out my social media at Charles Watts on Twitter, and I'll be delivering updates from what Mikel has had to say. And obviously I'll come back on tomorrow, do more of a detailed video review on what I've seen here today, and certainly discussing what Mikel Arteta has had to say, and no doubt that European Super League story is going to be right at the top of the agenda. So from the Emirates here, it's finished Fulham 1, Arsenal 1.